Good day, everyone, and welcome to Sparkles of Love, episode 40, here on June 12th, 2025. My name is Ana-La-Rai, and my company is called Sparkles of Love. And our purpose here at Sparkles of Love is to provide you with the newest and most advanced tools, processes, and information to support you on your spiritual journey, to help you get through all the struggles and to shine your light brighter and sparkle more. And that's why we're here. So today's episode is about the energy of resentment. And so I want to talk a little bit about what it is and what it does to us. And I also then want to do a download of the vibration of surrender. And we'll talk about what that is. As always, you're welcome to put your questions in, and I will do my best to answer them. And I really appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe button. All right. So, resentment. Have you felt it before? I have. I think we all have. It just seems to be a human emotion. And so I looked up what actually is resentment? What is the dictionary definition? And the dictionary says that resentment is a feeling of anger because you have been forced to accept or do something you didn't like or agree with, right? So, a feeling of anger because you have been forced to accept or do something you don't like or agree with. Okay. So, that's where we're starting. That's the definition of resentment. And I want to talk about it in terms of our spiritual journey. And when we get started on our spiritual journey, we often think it's going to be all roses and sunshine, and we have all these big expectations about what it's going to look like. I'm going to start to, levitate and channel, and I'm going to, you know, do crystal layouts across the world, and I'm going to heal people. And we have all these different things that we think we're going to do. And we may do some of those, we may do all of those. But often, those initial expectations of what our spiritual journey looks like can be different than the reality. I think for almost everyone I've ever talked to, it's never fast enough. It's never as fast as we thought we were going to go. You start doing your clearing and your healing work on yourself, you start going inward, and you think everything is going to change in a month or in a day really quickly, right? Forgetting we've spent lifetime after lifetime coming down here to earth and building up all of these densities and old false beliefs and having traumas and hurts, and we've got to move through all of that. So because we think it's going to be this way, and very often we think it's going to be easy and fast and fun and exciting, and maybe in the beginning it's not that way. What often happens is our expectations aren't met. Okay. So you end up with resentment, right? That feeling of anger because you feel now you're on your journey and you feel you have to go forward, but it's not what you thought it was going to be. It's nowhere near like what you thought it was going to be. And as we have these expectations and they're not met, or we often don't go back and even reevaluate them. Was this a realistic expectation? Or is it just something I read in a book or saw on a podcast and this was someone else's experience? Why isn't mine like that? So, what happens is that resentment builds, right? And the way the guides sometimes describe it to me is that it is it's like when you see a kid at the park or in the grocery store with their mom and they're having a temper tantrum and they might be laying on the floor just kicking and screaming and yelling as the parent stands back a little bit embarrassed or maybe ignoring them. And welcome, Ulrich. And what happens is it's like that. And we've all had temper tantrums. We've all felt that buildup of anger within us, or that, oh, why is it like this? Right? That maybe a little bit more what an adult temper tantrum looks like than a kid's temper tantrum. And all of that builds up this resistance, right? So here we are having expectations about what our spiritual journey should be, about how fast it should go, what our human life should look like now that we're awakened. Well, gee, I thought everything was going to get easier. I thought the money was going to flow in right away. I thought I was going to meet my soulmate. All of these expectations, some of them realistic, some of them unrealistic, that we have based on other people, right? On other stories. And so the resentment comes forth. And again, that definition, resentment is a feeling of anger because you have been forced to accept or do something you don't like or don't agree with, right? So here we are on our journey. We have unrealistic expectations now, and now we're starting to feel resentful. It's like, this isn't how it was supposed to be. This isn't how I dreamed it would be. This isn't what I want it to be. And then we have our little tantrums. And they look different for everybody. That's okay. There's no judgment about having a tantrum. It's just, a releasing of some of that resistance, right? Some of that resentment that has to go. But what happens is the more that we are resentful, the more that we have these expectations of how it should be, what we think it should be, or what we think mastery should be, or what we think, enlightenment should be, the more we have these expectations, the more likely we are to be disappointed. The more likely we are to move into resentment because it's not like we thought it was going to be. And that resentment then manifests into resistance. So what I mean is now you're resisting your journey. You're not easily in the flow because you're in resistance. It's like you've put the brakes on, right? You're digging your heels in. And so now what happens is your journey becomes more challenging, right? Because it's like trying to drag your dog on the leash that doesn't want to go that way. Maybe they know they're going to the groomers and it's the last place they want to go, and they're kind of tugging this way and you're pulling this way. And that's what happens on our spiritual journey. We end up in this place of resistance. And sometimes we don't even know why. But we're afraid to go forward because we feel that resentment, because we feel like our guides aren't hearing us, or I'm not moving fast enough. I'm not meeting my expectations. And do you have ever had on your spiritual journey expectations that didn't get met, that you felt resentment about? And maybe you resent one of your teachers, right? Maybe you resent uh, the other people in your groups or other friends who are on their journey, that it just seems to be so much faster for them, so much easier for them. They get the better guides, right? So there's all this comparison, and you can't compare each other on our journey. Our souls have taken and chosen different journeys for each of us so we can have experiences. So what do you do? What do you do when you run into that resistance, right? The only thing you can do, well, not the only thing, but one of the most important things you can do is, first of all, identify it, right? Why am I in resistance? What expectations do I have here? Why do I feel like I'm being forced and don't have my own choices, right? And we have to remember that it's all our choice. We co-create, we create this life. We set up, before we came here, the lessons we wanted to learn, the gifts we had, the body type, the family. We set all that up so that we could have certain experiences. Yeah, we forget it all when we're born, but that doesn't mean that it isn't true. So here we are. We're in resistance. It's not the way we thought it should be. What are you going to do? Identify first, what's the resistance about? What's the resentment about? Or what expectations do I have? And Udik says, I had expectations that were not met. And what happens now is to appreciate the little things. It's a choice to appreciate things or not. And that is absolutely true. And that in itself takes you out of the resistance, right? Because if you can start to appreciate every little change, every aha moment, every day you feel good in your body, or you look in your bank account and there's some money in there, whatever amount. When we can move into that gratitude space, it helps to release the resentment, right? And first of all, you want to see what you expect and let the expectations go, because I can guarantee you it's never going to be the way you think it's going to be. Sure hasn't been for me, hasn't been for anyone I know, any of my friends, any of my clients. It's never like what you think it's going to be, because we can't know, because our soul has chosen a journey that's unique for each of us. That is unique for each of us. So when you find yourself really stuck in that energy of resentment, feeling forced, or it turns into resistance, okay? And the best way, after you've identified what the resistance and the expectations are, is to move into the vibrations of surrender. When you can actually surrender, to give it back to source, or to give it to God, as the saying goes, it's like taking it off your plate. You don't have to make the decisions now. Someone is helping. So the best thing that you can do, after, again, it's important to identify what your resistance is and what your expectations are, so you can let that go. And as you feel that resistance, you want to call on the vibrations of surrender. You want to move into surrender and just say, okay, I surrender. I let this go. And when you're surrendering, what my experience of it has been, I can't just say, I surrender, I surrender, I surrender. It has to be with full emotion. That's how I do it. And by the time I'm really there, I'm almost in tears. I'm almost in tears because it's emotional. I'm really struggling. I'm finally giving this up and asking for help, right? This isn't what I thought it was going to be. I am so upset. I'm in so much resentment and resistance, and I don't want to be there anymore. So I want to surrender. Which questions do you have around either the resentment or the resistance, what it looks like? Because what I'd like to do is we're going to do a little download of the vibration of surrender, because I think that's really a cool one to do and help people with. And it doesn't mean you have to surrender anything now, though you can if you want. But I want you to feel that energy and know that it's accessible to you. Okay. So, of course, as I always say, you shouldn't be driving. I'm going to get my little timer on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an 8-minute download of the vibration of surrender. Okay. And it's very peaceful in its own way, but it helps you to settle back in. It helps you releasing things. So if in these next 8 minutes, if there's something you want to surrender, then use this energy download to help you. If there's something you want to release, an old pattern, let's do this together in surrender. I'll go into the silence once I start, and I'll put there's probably a timer on here, but I don't know how to do that here on YouTube yet. And we'll do 8 minutes of a download, and then I'll come back and I have some other information to share with you. Okay. So let's start the timer for 8 minutes. Let's get eyes closed. If you've just come in, let's get connected to the light once again, and just feel now You don't have to put your arms up. This is just what my body wants to do. And just feel, and I call forth on the vibration and energy of surrender. And surrender is not giving up. Just so you know, it's very, very different energy. So surrender, and you can name whatever you want to surrender in this moment. And just feel as it starts to come in, and it's going to hit the top of your head, your crown chakra, and it's going to start to move into your body. And just allow your whole body, all your chakras, all your organs, your nervous system, your digestive and cardiovascular systems to surrender. And you might say, I surrender my resistance to whatever it is. And just allow this vibration of surrender to flow to you and through you and fill you up. Feel that resentment or that resistance sort of melt away. Just continue to receive this vibration of surrender. Got about another 4 minutes to go, and I'm going to mute myself now as it continues to come in for each of you. Remember, not driving. And we're in the last minute now of the download of the vibration of surrender. Just allow. And you can re listen to this at any time and receive the download again. Beautiful. When you're ready, just open your eyes. Surrender. It truly is a gift. It takes everything off your shoulders and lets the universe and your guides and source support you. All right. I have a couple things I want to share. Um, a colleague and friend of mine does a great, amazing seminar on financial freedom. And that is going to be in July 18th for 3 days. I did it last year and I learned so much about money and finances. And I actually cleared some of my beliefs around money and finances that were limiting me. And she is doing a short workshop on June 19th. All the links are going to be here below when we get this up. And she also, I have the link in here for her ebook on financial freedom. Her name is Penelope Jane Smith, and she is with Real Prosperity, and she helps people move into prosperity financially. And I really can recommend the program. I learned a lot, and I found it really helpful. It changed how we deal with money. So the links will be below to if you want to get a ticket, and if you do a deposit, and then if you actually show up for the 3 days, because it's not recorded, you got to be there live, then you get your money back, and well worth your time if you have any issues around money or finances. So the Financial Freedom Workshop is coming up on June 19th. That's next week. And I think it's just an hour or so. And then her 3-day workshop is July 18th for 3 days. And also in July, on the 10th of July, 2025, will be my next Advanced Opportunities on the full moon. And it is a message from the whale. So that will be pretty cool. And you can find that on my website, sparklesoflove.love. And when you go to my website, you'll also see on the very front page a really cool quiz I did to help you find out what is your primary path to accelerate your own awakening on your spiritual journey. My name is Ana-La-Rai, and thank you so much for being here and listening. Bye for now.